morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I'm LionHeartBlue, and welcome to another episode of my Scrap Mechanic Survival series. I think in today's episode we'll continue with the automatic farm. I've done some testing and playing around and made some changes to it. So what I'm doing at the moment is, because I need a few more resources, I thought I'd head back to my old base and start ripping that down to start with, so that I have everything I need, rather than having to keep stopping to harvest and craft, etc. Because I've got a farm. Something shiny here, there we go. Oh, good. Yes, so I've got a farm already over at my old base, which has probably got some of the resources I need, like the water cannons, the logic setup, and pistons, etc, etc. So I should have everything I need over there to get at least one portion of the automatic farm done. And then once we have finished here and gone back to the new base, I'll show you the changes I've made to the automatic farm so far. I've not done a massive amount, but I've changed the idea, the concept up completely. I've got rid of the single piston pushing along the width, and I figured we might as well have 5 of each sort of cannon or vacuum pump, so there'll be one of each on each column. Sorry, there's a lot of eaches there. So each column will have a vacuum pump and a water cannon on it, so as the whole mechanism moves forward, it will just perform its action on the plot below it without having to move left and right across the width. So I'll collect all this up. I'm probably going to rip the whole thing down, which you're not going to want to see. So I'll finish this, and when we get back to the base, I'll show you what I've done. So back at the home base now, and I'm just going to place this additional water cannon, which you'll see I've put some up here already. So each water cannon has a sensor above it, and that sensors will obviously tell it to water. I'm wondering if I can fit vacuum pump here to do harvesting, so I could have one somewhere here that is not impacting the watering system. We haven't spoken about harvesting yet, so what the vacuum pumps can do, they can harvest a 3x3 area of crop. So with one suck it can harvest 9 items. I'm just trying to think the best placing for it, because it'd be great if it could water, plant and harvest all automatically on one click of a button. So that's the idea, that's what I'm trying to get to. So my concern now is that if I put the vacuum pumps at the back here to do the planting, the whole mechanism won't move far enough forward, and it can't move far enough forward with the number of pistons I've got at the moment to actually get to that last row to plant. So this requires a lot more thought. So these 3 chests here, which I've now placed on the ground, are the ones I've brought over from my new base, from the old base. So this is all the stuff I've retrieved from the old base. So I'm going to put some more crop plots down while I have a little think. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do yet, but for now I'm going to finish putting the sensor on this the last water cannon, which I put in. It's not working, but I haven't connected it up, that's why. So I need the sensor to tell, so the sensor needs to be connected to that logic, the logic and the switch together. I need to connect the water cannons to a water source, And when I press the button now, it should water, and you'll see the crop plots turn from a light brown to a dark brown when they're wet. So that seems to work. So if you imagine swapping them out for the vacuum pumps planting seeds, that should plant seeds. I have a plan. I'm going to add a small sort of extension to the back of this with some wood, where I can add my vacuum pumps, bearing in mind that I need to make sure that they're in line with the water cannons, because the water cannons are exactly centered, and this structure I'm going to build will be able to tilt at an angle, so as it holds the vacuum pumps and the chests, it can point at an angle towards the nearest crop plot. So I was hoping I could somehow attach it in there, but that's far too small, so I'm not going to have room to do it like that. I wonder if I did, could I do it if I attach them like this, because they look like exactly the right width, so I should just be able to, if I add another controller in here, because I'm going to need to tilt or turn those bearings to the degree I want to point. Right, so that bearing can be controlled with this rotation editor, and I just set it at 15 degrees, and you can see it's not pointing straight down now, it's slightly at an angle. So maybe I increase that a little bit more. You see, what I want that to do is point at the first plot there. I'm not sure that's quite right. The idea is that the same sensor then can trigger both the water cannon and this vacuum pump, and it should water and plant that plot at the same time. But I need to get the angle right, and I need to think how I can get this to work the other way. I mean, it doesn't seem to add too much weight to it. It doesn't wobble. My fear was with the bearing there, it can wobble, and that would throw it out. But let me just reduce that a bit, get the angle about right. Looks better. Not entirely sure how I could be sure, but if you look at it at this angle, it seems to be pointing correctly. So I need to add the chest to it, because I obviously need the seeds. It doesn't fit like this. Oh, there it goes. So yeah, so I can add seeds to the chest, which it's got them already. So if I add a switch now, I can test the firing or the planting of seeds manually, so I don't waste. I can make sure that's firing in the right place. Oops, wrong button. So I should be able to click that switch. In fact, probably a button's going to be better for this, just to make sure. A switch, obviously, it's on or off. Button is just activates. It's just like activates when you click it. Oh, I keep pressing that wrong button. So like that seemed to work perfectly. It's good angle. It's fired straight into that crop plot, which is what I wanted. So I think that angle's okay. I just need to duplicate this 4 more times, assuming that they all fit nicely next to each other, which they should do. So, but actually, let me test this row, because now that sensor I should be able to plant this entire row. So it seems there's a delay. It doesn't look like the vacuum pump can work fast enough, but should be easily fixed. And you see, by using that same logic block that I used earlier, I haven't had to add any more logic to this. That logic is working when the sensor and the switch are on. It then fires the water and fires the seed planting action. but obviously the vacuum pump is slower, so I need to think about slowing this whole thing down. But as a concept, it's working. I'm happy. I just need to do this whole thing a few more times, so let me have a play and I'll come back. So I've been playing around with the farm, and it's planting well. There's a few issues still. I've not made much progress because I've been doing a lot of testing, but I'm taking a break as there's a raid due soon in about 30 seconds, and I do not want to miss it in case they come and destroy something else in my base without me looking. But it's planting quite well, as you saw before. One issue I've been trying to solve is the fact that every time I test it, it obviously attempts to plant where we already have plants, which, as I explained before, that means you basically waste a seed. Here they come. Right. That shooting is the gun's very loud. Otherwise, I'd try and talk to you while I'm shooting. But I mean, you might be able to hear me, but I can't hear myself think when I'm shooting. Was that it? That's good. So yeah, there's not many when this is low level, low tier vegetables that I'm planting, so you don't get many. There's another day in Scrap Mechanic Survival world, and I've abandoned that previous idea. I've got this thing on the front here which is going to harvest, and at the back I've decided to put pumps with chests. I'm going to see if I can use just a few chests and use the vacuum tubes, or the tubes, so that I don't need so many chests, because the chests can be quite heavy, so I really want to keep the weight of this down. So the reason I abandoned it is because I thought I'd solved the problem, but I hadn't, where as the mechanism moves forwards, the angle that I was pointing the vacuum pumps up, it changes and it kind of keeps missing the crop plots. So what I want to get here is, if I can get everything the right height and the right size, get the chests on, get the vacuum pumps on. So I think the maximum I could do, there's only 3 connections on a chest, so the maximum I could do is obviously 3 pumps per chest. So I should be able to do this with just 2 chests in theory. The height has an impact as well. So if these pumps are too high, I don't think they will work. It won't plant the seeds. So I have to make sure that the height, I mean this height is tested, so I don't really want to change. I don't want to sort of change this height if possible. I know it might work higher, but I'm just saying that I know this is working for me. So right, so the arrows both pointing down, which mean we want to pull from the chest into the ground. So they should both pull seeds from that chest. And if I can get another chest for these 3, maybe I can get another pipe to this middle one, and then I need 1 more chest for the other 2. Or is there any more? Is there a more efficient way of doing this? I mean, by all means, if you've got any ideas, stick them in the comments. You might have a much more efficient way of doing this. Oops. So I need to get this the right height to get another tube along. Again, OCD kicking in, they all need to be the same height, otherwise it bugs me. Let's get, I think that looks like it will line up. If I can get another tube in there. Do I have enough on me? No. I'll go and get some more if I can remember. Yes, look at that. See, that's what organisation does for you. Straight away. Yeah, back on the left and get this connected. Now, I've just had a thought. I mean, it was slow planting earlier, the vacuum pump I mean. I'm wondering how it's going to work if they're sucking seeds up from one chest. I don't know if that's going to have any impact. Oh, I've got to get this lined up properly. So is that going to reach that one now? So now I need a tube. Is it? Yeah. So now we've got 3 tubes connected to 3 pumps connected to one chest. So it saves on the chests. I mean, the tubes themselves are quite expensive in game terms, in material terms, but I already had loads because I was playing around with tubes and stuff in my old base, so I've got loads. I think before I fit any more on it, I might want to give this a test. I don't think it's going to go to the end, but I don't think that it will quite do the whole. Oh, and the tubes are catching on the top. Oh, I didn't think of that. That's too high, isn't it? It's catching on my... Okay, so let's let that come back. I need to lower it so that chest can be lower, or maybe the vacuum pumps can be lower. I've been playing around with this for quite a bit. It's another day in real life as well as in Scrap Mechanic world. I think I really need to change this whole thing up again, so that I just can't get that to what it does. What I can't get it to fit. If I move the chests around, I can't get the tubes to fit properly. So I might have to go back to my, I wasn't going to say not original idea, but my previous idea, so that these vacuum pumps are lower and maybe angled again, so that I can put the chests on with the tubes and they don't hit the mechanism above. I like using that word mechanism a lot because I don't know how else to describe this, but I don't want them to hit obviously the square blocks above. So if I can lower all of this, get it sort of angled in the right way, maybe that will be sufficient, as long as I can get it somehow to kind of hold its strength and not bounce around when this thing is moving along. It's just all about getting this lined up. So let me have a play and I'll come back to you when it's done. Yeah, so I've had numerous problems with this. I'm just putting back all the vacuum pumps and that now. I don't know if you could tell from the montage, but they weren't actually working. Usually when you see that it says use, when they're connected to a chest and you press use, it switches the direction. The arrow will either go up or down depending on what action you want it to perform. But they weren't moving, so there was something wrong with them. So they weren't planting, they weren't usable. So I kind of put them away, and I've put new ones on now, and these ones seem to be working. I also added a button to control the water, so while I'm testing I can stop it from constantly watering. So let's give it a test. Let's see if this plants. It's not planting. Is this something not... The bleeping you can hear now is that I've put the noise on the sensor, so I can hear when the sensor's actually sensing a block. Maybe this rotation is not right again. Oh, there we go. We're getting something planted. So every time you hear that noise, it should plant. That's a bit better. We're missing some in the middle row. I mean the middle of these 3 rows. So that's like that vacuum pump. The vacuum pumps can't pull from the chest at the same time. That's a shame. That means I'm going to have one chest per vacuum pump. It's not a big deal. It's just... yeah, still... yeah. Because that row that's got the vacuum pump on didn't plant anything. So it's pulling from the same chest. Oh, I can hear a raid coming up. I've completely forgot about. Get my gun ready. Let me go and deal with this. Ah, they're coming. Destroying my base. See, there's more of them now. It doesn't work if you shoot the wall. So you get haybots come as well. I mean, they're all desperately trying to get to the farm, so they're not too concerned about me. They just want to get to the farm to destroy what I've planted. Just make sure nothing's coming. No one's coming over here. No. Oh, and now my tummy's grumbling. I'm hungry. So the haybots are good because they often drop those component kits, which I mentioned are quite valuable. The circuit boards, I've got so many of them. They're dropped by the tote bots. But, you know, I collect everything just in case. 1, I don't like it littering the world. And 2, you never know when they become useful. So, again, still a lot of work to do on this. I'll come back to you in a bit, and then I think we'll have to call it a day. So you can see I've got my connector tool out at the moment. You can see how complicated something like this can look when you're trying to see what you can connect to what, or what is connected to what. For some reason this middle one still isn't, the second one from the left still isn't, oh good, there we go. It wasn't firing, it's still missing some. Again, could be the speed, could be the angle, and the noise you can hear, that horrible beep beep, that weird noise. That's the sensor. I've added sound to it so I can hear that the sensor's actually picking up the blocks. It was hard to see otherwise. Hard to know why it wasn't planting. So if you hear a squeak, you know it should plant, and it wasn't planting. So again, don't know what's happening, but it seems not quite right. Not planting on every crop plot. So yeah, I think that's the way to go though. I'm going to have to get rid of the tubes and stick with 1 chest per vacuum pump. So I'm going to have a play with this a little bit more offline, and I'll show you in the next episode if I make any major changes, or hopefully I can demonstrate it fully working. But for now, I'll say thank you once again for watching. Please hit that thumbs up button if you like this, and subscribe, and hit that bell to get notified of the videos coming up in the future. Thanks again for watching. Take care.